Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to the April 15th Economic Development Authority meeting. I hope that everyone has their taxes in prior to coming to this meeting.
Got a few hours left.
It is nice to be loved. We have so many people here today. Appreciate taking the time to come visit us this morning. We'll get started with the roll call.
Good morning and thank you, Chair. Mr. Barber.
Here.
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Brown.
Here.
Mrs. Saunders Smith.
Here.
Mrs. Perry.
Here.
Mr. James.
Here.
Mr. Hammond.
Here.
Chair, we do have a quorum.
Great. I trust that everyone had an opportunity to read the March 18th meeting minutes. If there are no changes or revisions, I move for adoption.
Second.
Second, is there discussion on the items? Hearing none. Mr. Barber. Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry.
Yes.
Mr. James.
Yes.
And Mr. Hammond.
Yes.
The item is approved by a vote of 7-0.
As you can see, we have a full agenda today, a couple presentations. If we can, we will pause and have appropriate discussions where needed. Giving that, we'll start with the financials.
Yes, thank you, Chair. We have Ms. Garrett Pope from the Finance Department with us today to present the March quarterly financial report. So you should each have a copy of that at the table. I think we're going to try to get that on the screen as well. But Ms. Pope, if I can hand it over to you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
This morning, as Brian stated, I will be giving the third quarter financial report for EDA ending March 31st. Okay. Our first slide is the statement of net position. As of March 31st, 2015, we had about 7.3 million in cash, 1.9 million in accounts receivable. We still have our land held at a value of 1.2 million. And we have property held for sale for 12.7 million, giving us a total asset value of 23 million. We ended the quarter with 546,000 in liabilities, giving us a net position of 20.7 million, a slight decrease of 550,000 from last year. Our second report is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net positions. For the quarter ending March 31st, we had a loss of 590,000 in operating revenues, which mainly comes from the cost of land. We sold the land at a loss versus a gain, so that's why our net operating revenues is at a negative this quarter. We had a total of operating expenses of 230,000. We paid out around 339,000 as of March 31st in grants. We have earned 120,000 in interest income. We did get a contribution of land from the city that we did sell, so it's a kind of a wash for 609,000. All the fees associated with the transfer of land, 89,000. And our quarterly transfer to the city of 31,000, again, leaving us with a net position of 20.7 million. This report right here is our year-to-date budget report, which shows what our final budget was versus what we've done so far this year as it relates to income and expenses. And again, it's a change of $556,000 from last year. This report right here shows all of the property held for sale that VA has on the books. And again, that is 12.7 million for properties. This report breaks down here the total asset value versus the sales price, and it shows our gain and loss on the three properties that we've sold so far. These two reports right here show the FY23 and FY24 remaining grants that the EDA has approved but not yet paid out. And we have a remaining of $243,000 worth of grants that were already approved but still need to be dispersed. This final report is the grants that we have already paid out. And again, from the first report, it's around $339,000 that we have dispersed this year. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to old business. Our first item is an update on 1117, 1121 High Street. And Ms. Chalk will be providing you with that presentation. Julie.
Good morning, commissioners and everybody. So 1117 and 1121 High Street. 1117 is the old shiny computers building. 1121 High Street is currently leased by Clean Waste Services. The construction documents to create a vanilla shell for 1117 and replace the roof the plans have been submitted to the city and are currently being reviewed. Those plans do include a proposal for Columbia Gas to extend the gas line to the building, and that estimated cost is $55,000, and so that was decided, or that was recommended by the architect based on allowing more flexibility to future tenants and a more efficient HVAC system. That is my report on 1117. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a minor question. I received a DocuSign to sign off on that, but my name was spelled wrong.
Okay. I can get that taken care of.
Okay.
Chair, we can just have a consensus that the board is good with us moving forward with the gas line agreement. We would like to go ahead and get committed to that. There is some scheduling and planning work that has to happen. So, per Julie's comments, remarks, it is a recommendation of the architect to have that installed. Obviously, it's an expensive extension of the line at $55,000. So, I just want to make sure that you all were comfortable with us moving forward. It sounds like that's the case, but I just want to get kind of a reaffirmation of that.
Yeah.
If my understanding is correct, if we did not do that, we would have an equivalent expenditure for the HVAC system in terms of upgrading and stuff. In my opinion, it's just a wash.
It is close to being a wash, but since it's an agreement that we'll need to do it, separate and apart from the actual construction work, and the plans. We'll want to make sure you're comfortable. Thank you. 1028 High Street, just across the street. Julie.
Okay. I have a relatively short report for 1028 High Street. The construction documents to demolish the structures on this property, are currently, with the city for review. We do plan to have, or we hope to have everything in place so that we can get started with the demolition, shortly after Mural Fest. We decided that it would be best to wait until after so that there's no potential conflicts. Any questions about that?
Thank you.
Also worried about that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Julie. Moving on, our next item is a presentation on the FY 2026 EDA operating budget. We do have a draft budget proposal that has been emailed out and is printed as well at the table before you. And I'm going to turn it over to the Budget Committee and Treasurer Sandra Smith for the presentation.
Good morning. This, as I stated, is a draft budget. I did not get any comments from any of the members of anything they really wanted to look at. So we did a pretty extensive review last year on this budget. So you're going to see in most of these cases that the lines have just gone over from what we had before. There are no real major changes. I will bring to your attention, though, we did make the adjustment with the acceleration grant. Remember, that was the one that was not being used and we had to take some money out. And we put that into one of the other grants. So we did reduce that from 100,000 to 50,000, which is on line 18. And also you will note on line 18 as well, we went in and plugged in the 250,000 for the grant loan program that we're trying to start. So that was added in. Other than that, there are no real major changes to what we had last year. So does anyone have any questions?
Sure, if I can just make a comment. It is important to note when you're looking at this document, there are a few items that are carried over from the current fiscal year to FY 26 that are noteworthy because it's somewhat it's a little bit misleading if you look at the bottom line. And those items would include the land acquisition, which is line 12 at $3 million. We've obviously not acquired $3 million worth of property in the current fiscal year, so we have carried that item forward to FY 26 with the intention of acquiring property and spending that down. Another item would be real estate improvements, line 41, which is listed as $1 million in FY 25. We're proposing the same in FY 26. And the reason I'm bringing this up, it adds to your expenditures. While those numbers are not actual, and you have not expended those year to date, when you look at the bottom, the final number there, your net position, it does reflect that expense coming out, but that actually has not occurred. So just want to point that out. If you're looking at it from that standpoint, it can be a little bit misleading. You do still have those funds in your account. We're just proposing to carry those over the same amount.
Do we have any update on our loan program yet? With the $250,000 loan program for line 18?
We do, and we will be discussing that in the closed meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
So just in terms of the process and next steps. If you have any questions or comments, we would just ask for you to provide those within the next week or so that we can respond to that, make any adjustments to the budget. We do plan to bring it back before you at your May meeting for presentation in final form and adoption. So that's in place prior to the start of the fiscal year on form.
Do we have a lot for architectural drawings?
Yeah. Where did we put that? Because we do have it in there.
We do. So contractual other is where we have a catch-all to all of the campaign services. We have a $250,000
Okay.
budget amount.
What line is that?
24.
Thank you.
Hearing no further questions, we're going to transition to new business. And the first item of new business is the appointment of EDA Assistant Secretary.
So, as you know, Brian has had a dual responsibility over the last year or so. Part of that being the EDA Assistant Secretary. So we're pleased to bring somebody on board to do that who we all know well, Charles Ballman, who will be the Assistant Secretary. In the event that something should happen to this fine young man, Charles will be available.
We'll see what we can do.
All right. Glad to have you.
So we will, I believe, need to take a vote to appoint Mr. Bowden.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Barber and a second by Mr. Brown. I'll read the roll. Mr. Barber, Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry.
Yes.
Mr. James
Yes.
and Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
That was approved by 0. Congratulations, Mr. Bowman. You is the new Assistant Secretary to the EDA. You're going to give me all that next week. This responsibility will be passed off shortly.
The new business.
I do appreciate the support and Charlie stepping up into it. All right. Your next item is a presentation on the Shop the Block High Street Festival, and we have with us representatives from the Portsmouth Partnership to present on this item. The Executive Director, Michelle Wren, and Assistant Director, Liz Pasqualini, are both here. So Michelle and Liz, I'm going to ask you to come forward. Believe that Faith is going to help you walk through the presentation, which we've got preloaded.
It works. Oh, yeah. All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for having us. As Brian introduced us, we're actually here representing Ports Events versus the partnership, which is an events company that the partnership has run for about 10 years. It's currently shelved, and the economic development team asked us to step in and partner with them to run the High Street Festival again this year, something y'all supported last year. And so we're looking just to build on the success that Autumn started last year with a great festival, and also to relieve staff from running the event. So that's why we're here and why we're presenting what we want to do with the festival. So like I said, presenting, building on last year's success. Last year was a great festival. I think the turnout turned out really, really well. Hottest day of the year, I believe. So to have a great turnout on the hottest day of the year meant that there's an appetite. So we want to expand on that. this year and create some more synergy. We're actually looking to move it to September, hoping to have a little bit better weather. One of the reasons to moving it to is to give us a little more time to plan. So, here we are in April, clearly not enough time to put together an event, even though we're building on last year's for the summer. So moving it to September, still focus on small business, the High Street corridor. And we want to just build on the assets that we have on High Street, right? We've got the farmer's market that runs, that, brings in weekly visitors from 3,000 to 5,000. We have the great art and cultural presence in the corridor. So we want to build on that art and that presence also and bring that into the festival as happened last year. And then we have 23 restaurants in the High Street corridor alone. We also want to bring in restaurants that are up and down through Portsmouth. So like the entire High Street, and bring them into the corridor as well, so that they can also have benefit from the festival, as well as other businesses in Portsmouth. So again, the focus is on the High Street corridor, making it walkable, making it pleasant, bringing visitors in, indoor, outdoor eating, and that type of synergy, but also allowing other businesses in Portsmouth to take advantage of what we have in the Old Town corridor. I'll let Liz talk a little bit more about this.
So some of the new elements that we thought we could bring in and just kind of expand on this event. One is to just bring some outdoor dining out. So bring people going into our restaurants out onto the street to eat. So to provide space for that, giving kind of that street food festival vibe for the event. We're also looking to pull a DORA permit for the day, and that would allow people to go in, get an adult beverage from different establishments and walk around with that while they shop, while they dine, while they go around to all the different activations that we want to bring onto High Street. Additional things too is, there were some great activations last year. We just kind of are thinking about adding some more, right? This is year 2, so to bring some new elements out and kind of surprise people, not recreating the same event, but bringing some new things in for our folks that are coming back for year 2. We also thought this was a great opportunity to showcase some of the spaces that maybe are available for lease or rent that are not currently occupied. And so to think about, bringing a concentration of people into downtown, have them come in and use those spaces and start to envision them differently than just kind of place over the window. So that's another element we'd like to bring in this year as well. And, one of the things that the partnership is working on now is our Main Street initiative. So we've been, Portsmouth has been designated a mobilizing Main Street community, but we really haven't rolled that out with the community. There's a lot of work that's going on behind the scenes. We thought that September in this event really times out nicely for a way to really kind of roll out the Main Street initiative with the general public. Opportunity to just kind of brand our Main Street initiative, an opportunity to maybe work with some folks coming in downtown to get their ideas and perspectives about, what's missing in Old Town, or ask them questions about green space and things that we might want to know. And so kind of engage them in the Main Street process. And, the other thing I'll just say there, this sort of activation events along your High Street, that is very much in line with the Main Street model and the work that we hope to be doing there.
And then a little bit on that too, that was one of the reasons to looking for that DORA, which is that, outdoor dining and recreation permit, right? Is I don't know if everybody's familiar with that, but you basically can walk into a restaurant, you can take a drink to go, you can take food to go, and then come back out on the street, right? So we don't want to take any business away from the restaurants. We'll still have activations as you did last year in the restaurants as well, that want activation to keep people there, but also want the opportunity for people to shop and to also, go in and out of some of the retail stores that are on High Street too, and then also shop the vendors and be exposed. So they can, go in, to Wads, get a margarita to go, and then keep shopping, or they can sit in Wads if Wads has something that they're interested in. But also it just allows for that people to move about the space, with alcohol, but also in a family-friendly way, right? So we're not looking to have, a bunch of people intoxicated through the street. That is not the intention. The intention is for people to enjoy themselves, still family friendly, but be able to go in and out of the spaces, and enjoy all of the restaurants and all of the, all of the retail spaces and all the devices. So that's part of the Main Street piece too, is creating, one of the reasons we want to pull that too is to show that High Street, when it's walkable, when it's inviting, and when it's enticing and the things to do, the retail and businesses thrive. And it's modeling that, right? Like you can shut down High Street and it can be pedestrian only and the businesses still thrive. So it is taking those Main Street principles and modeling them to the business owners and modeling it to the public that this is a safe, walkable place. It's enjoyable and, it's somewhere we want to come back to. And that's the whole premise of Main Street, the whole premise of creating an atmosphere in Old Town that people want to return to. The budget. Yeah, I'll go ahead and take this one. So, last year, the event cost, and Autumn, if I'm misspeaking, please speak up. I believe last year, the total event was 38,000, correct? So last year, this board, gave 28,000 to the event and the event was underbid is what I've been told. Again, Autumn will correct me if I'm wrong. And it actually cost 38,000. This year we are asking EDA for 45,000. It is an increase from last year. Not much from what the event cost last year, but we are increasing the footprint. Last year, the street closure was from Dinwiddie to Effingham. We're actually incorporating the farmers market into the street closure and we'll close from Middle Street and incorporate all the way down to Effingham. So that'll be the DORA permit to get all of the restaurants, all of the retailers and those businesses in that footprint, as well as the farmers market. We're working with the farmers market for those street closures. We met with the Cullens earlier and they're on board with that. And we will then support their vendors to release their volunteers and put our volunteers in. So it'll be a longer event. And that is really the main reason for the increase. The sponsorship piece is what we're going to raise $10,000 privately to add to the budget. Really, the total event's going to be 55,000. And that is a conservative number. We're being conservative because it's a non-ticketed event and it's open to the public. So if it was a ticketed event, we know that we could add a whole lot more sponsorship dollars. But being a non-ticketed event, that's a harder ask sometimes for sponsorship. So we're kind of coming in conservative and then we're hoping to build on this every year, right? So that we can increase the sponsorships, increase the momentum, and then decrease the support of the city and this body. So eventually it should be an event that is self-sustaining, makes its own profit and doesn't need, any influx from the city. And you can see what the budget's broken out to. That's coming straight from, this budget is straight from Autumn and her work behind the scenes with the event programmers. So that's where these numbers come from. We think, they're conservative, but also will get the job done for an event.
And we just wanted to talk about what success looks like for this event. So some of the things that we're looking to measure here, just increased foot traffic along High Street. We also think that we can probably pull some numbers around ferry ridership to kind of demonstrate some success. We'll be working with each one of our vendors as well as the businesses up and down the High Street corridor just to track the revenue that they're able to generate during the event hours. We're also just looking about general awareness for High Street. So that we'll have to do with some of our social media marketing, Google Analytics, and then this added element, bringing people out in to see some of the unused property along High Street. And then just bringing some new partners in. I think there's a lot of great partners that were at the table last year, but to be able to bring some new partners and some folks from other parts of the city down onto High Street. We're looking at all those things as demonstrating a successful event.
And also curious too as to what, again, this body thinks is a successful event too. So that's really important. So again, if you choose to fund it again, so what are the elements that, y'all deem as a successful event? Would like to incorporate that and bring back analytics to say, yes, this is where we hit the mark and this is where we're going to focus on. Because that's important as well.
I think that is it.
Question?
I got a question.
Yes.
What, I really was paying attention.
No, you're good.
What additional items, are you adding this year to warrant the increase in the festival?
No, really good question. Inflation has taken a little part of that, but we're really increasing the footprint and the hours. So last year, the closure, was from Dinwiddie, right? I got Dinwiddie to Effingham. This year, we're going all the way from Middle, so we're actually expanding the footprint almost double. And so expanding the footprint cost to for street closure cost. And then just the marketing behind that door permit, so pulling that, each business has to have a cup, it has to be branded, so that adds a little bit of expense too. But mainly it's the increase the footprint. We're keeping the entertainment about the same cost as last year, the activation's about the same cost as last year, so between inflation and then the increased footprint.
Yeah, one more question.
Yeah, no.
So you say last year's festival was 38,000, and we donated 28,000. We
Yeah.
gave 28,000. How did you make the other 10 difference?
We need 10,000 to how much?
Okay.
Yeah, follow-up question on that. Do you have the ability to, in addition to, I'm assuming the revenue is general revenue, or is it net revenue? You do.
Sales for the business. Yeah.
The city don't make anything.
So that'd be gross.
So it'll be gross.
Yeah, it'd be gross. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we have to come back and do the net calculations, or we'll have staff do that. I guess what I'm saying is, ultimately, you said the project wants to be self-sustaining.
Mhm.
So in order to get at that, it would be beneficial to at least have some proposed how much it cost and how much revenue it came, and then net the two out.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, and I think too, I know we could calculate what the tax revenue is, right? Like, so for your
Right.
investment, what was the tax revenue for the city? We can get that from the commissioner of revenue.
Okay.
Absolutely. For that day, what we sold and what the sales tax was. Yeah, that's an easy,
Okay.
that's an easy calculation to get.
Because I think that would be that would be a success measurement for us.
Right, your return on investment, right? Like, so what you invested, what did the city make off of that? And so what did individuals? Absolutely.
Thank you.
Under your foot traffic category, and this may be in the plan already, but I would definitely be curious to know of the foot traffic, who is coming that's a local and who's coming from other cities and other regions possibly.
Yeah, that would be an interesting one. I think, I don't know whether maybe Peter can answer that question, but don't y'all have, the Pacer Geo tracker?
Currently for FY 2026, we are looking at a software program called Placer
Placer, that's
AI.
it. Yeah.
What that does is we geocode, so we could geocode this entire area and find out how many cell phones went to that area on a certain date and time.
Yeah.
So we're looking at that software right now. It has not been purchased.
Okay, so y'all haven't, okay. So yeah, which would be a great addition to the city just for stats. So, but yeah, I mean, as far as foot traffic, yeah, we could easily, that would just be kind of a polling and yeah.
My other question was going to be, would there be any way to incorporate some surveying of attendees while you're there, either through having a tablet, with people in attendance walking the street, asking them some survey questions about their perspective on Portsmouth or why they came or something like that, to gather some information about the attendees?
Yeah.
So
That would be easy. Yeah.
and last year, this wasn't a closed event.
Mhm.
This year, the permit requires the street to be closed off, so that would allow us to have entryways where we can conduct surveys, where we weren't able to do that last year.
Yeah. And then also too, I think with having the kind of that Main Street activation site or tent, I think that'll also, we have surveys there and people we just kind of envision boards hey, what would you like to see? What does Main Street mean to you? What does Old Town mean to you? Visitors and or residents, right? So we can poll them and say, okay, this was a visitor, this is what they thought, this is a resident, that's what they thought. So I think that'll be a good, interactive tool as well.
I'm kind of thinking back to, I think over in Norfolk for Town Point Parks, I think sometimes Festivants on their tent, they'll, complete this survey, get a free bottle of water.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, that would maybe entice people to let us gather some information. from
Yeah,
them.
that's a great idea.
Well, my question was similar to Camille's, so we had the same idea about the people that are coming. And I wanted to know, and you pretty much answered it. I wanted to know how many were visitors and how many were coming from our different communities. And I don't know what targeted marketing we do, but I think that it's really important that we make sure that the people in our communities know and come.
Agreed.
Mhm.
Yeah, in our local Portsmouth community,
Right.
as well as the larger Hampton Roads, yeah.
I think we can be intentional behind that and kind of get some thought. How we could kind of measure that.
Yeah, last year we had the use the billboards in Portsmouth for advertising and social media, was handled by Davis, our marketing company, which was targeting Portsmouth residents. You can do the same thing this year.
And I also think too, like the activations and the entertainment, right? Like, so, if you have entertainment geared towards groups, right? So different neighborhoods and different groups that attracts them, I think that also helps to attract. And then you just have to advertise that you're having it. So, things that attract different populations. So you want different ages, you want different ethnicities, you want male, female. So again, if you have a range of entertainment and activities, I think then you can engage an entire population and not just like specific groups.
Just a comment on, since it's going to be an enclosed sort of an event that your parking is going to be much more, probably more of an issue this year than it was last year. So you may want to consider that. And I'd also like to thank the city for the improvements for the parking lot behind the Children's Museum. That's a tremendous asset and supported that now.
Yeah, so we can, engage that. We've got the parking decks. We have parking behind our space. I feel like we'd be able to engage the churches and do parking, and then just create some surface-free parking areas and then direct people. And I think that we can do that in advertising.
Last year we had
Ferry ridership.
Yeah, last year we had closures between King and Queen, which allowed for parking for the vendors, which freed up parking on the streets for attendees. And we had donated parking lots from the local churches. And then with this parking lot being paid, that would be something, a space that we didn't have last year that would add to the parking.
And the other thing too is we could talk to also maybe getting a pass for like free ferry ridership for the day. They'll often do that. So I think that could also entice people coming over the water
On the ferry.
on the ferry. It should be a pretty day, supposedly.
When they do that, is it free ridership to and from,
Usually
or is it just?
they do it like for the Tides games, I know. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, they do it to
Yeah.
and from.
We had that
Okay.
during the
But doing it the opposite way, right? Like a lot of times it's from here to there. We want it from Norfolk to Portsmouth,
Got it.
right? Like,
Yeah,
let's do
yeah.
it the opposite way. Instead of going to the Tides game, let's come to, something that's activating in Portsmouth.
Have you got bids on this yet? So is this price that you stated, is that fixed or do you not? It may go up or down.
This is from the thing.
Yeah.
But we didn't bid. We didn't go bid for the event planner.
We're
No,
not the bid if it's done through Portsmouth Partnership.
And Main Street Initiative, what is that? And is there any funding associated with Main Street Initiative?
Yeah, so Portsmouth is now officially mobilizing Main Street. So that is the stage, working towards advancing. So it's a 2-year process to get to the advancing Main Street. There are some small grant funds to help with planning and to create really a comprehensive plan for the district and what that looks like. So there's funding for that. But more of the larger funding comes once you're accredited. So we're in their accreditation process and it is a 2-year process. It's a cohort that we're in with 11 other Virginia municipalities. In fact, we just got back from a national conference, which was fantastic in Philadelphia. So it was Liz and I, and then Chris Tillett from Economic Development Office. And so again, that's when all the main streets across the United States came together. And so really great information, great sessions on how to activate and restore your downtown district and what that looks like. So definitely, some best practices, principles, and activation pieces. But yes, that was a long answer to yes, there is funding tied. They are competitive grants. So you do have to, write the grants and request, and you are, you're actively competing against other localities in the state and then across the nation.
Will there be signage for people coming down for the festival to enroll in the Open Rewards program
Okay.
with Old Town?
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
They
yeah.
kinda
For
get
that,
that
yeah.
going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have signage currently in the restaurant, so it's visible to, patrons.
But we could definitely do some.
Anybody that doesn't currently have will continue to promote.
Definitely.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We will
Yeah.
discuss it in closed session.
Absolutely. Thank y'all for the opportunity.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Liz. Okay. You have another. Oh, I'm sorry. Getting off schedule here. Chairman, we've got a item on here for the EDA brief review.
Yeah, I'll just say we had a good retreat. We're waiting to summarize all of the next action steps. And I think we'll just delay this until our next meeting. So it's going to go over what the next step should be.
Now we have our next presentation. We've got a lot of presentations today. I'm going to turn it over to Treasurer Mrs. Saunders Smith.
Hello, everyone, again. I'm so excited, was excited till I got in here about doing this presentation. I used to do a lot of this in my previous life. And I used PowerPoint, Excel, and Access to do those things. And so my daughter, Alina, who's a marketing strategist, said you need to get hip with Canva. Because, and if you don't know about Canva is really interesting because it takes all those programs and they put it into one program. So you're not having to go in and out to do certain things. The issue though was when I sent it to Brian and them, the city is not authorized to do Canva because of, I guess, the firewall situation. So some of the effects of what I thought you were going to get, you're not going to get. But hopefully you'll get something out of my presentation. Okay, as you know, we are excited about the possibilities of where Portsmouth is going in economic development. And as a result of that excitement, we're looking at ways to to make our mark in a direction. And we hope this council would go along with it. What I was really happy at the retreat, that our vision seems to parallel one another. And so that makes it good. It's fulfilling to know that what we're doing, we're going in the right direction. Now, you know, economic development in the past, we've done a lot of buying land and selling it to developers, that type of thing, or even leveling properties. And so this will be one of our first ventures of actually taking a piece of property and see what we can do with it. That, as well as the coffee shop initiative. So this property is, well, I want you to imagine the possibilities of Portsmouth's Innovation District. And specifically, this is a rendering of the architectural design for the Shiny Computer, which is one of the buildings that we own. Okay, next slide. Okay. So I was looking at possibilities of what we could do with Shiny Computer. And one of them was an eatery. And I want to kind of go through and explain what this is all about. This concept I got through traveling through Toronto, and they have these in different parts of the city. And I thought that this building could be something, a possibility for an eatery. Okay, the concept, introducing an eatery style venue in Portsmouth that could significantly enhance the local dining and entertainment landscape. This concept involves communal dining spaces featuring diverse cultural offerings from inspiring restaurateurs, complemented by entertainment options and event space. So, what that is, when you go into these types of things, it's called a food hall. And what actually is you use an open space. They have different stalls that the different ethnic restaurants, use in that space. And then they have a communal eating place in the middle. And I thought when I went there, it was just so exciting to see how people gather, they talk, you know how you, when you go out with your family, everybody wants something different. This gives you an opportunity to have something different. And it's really has been something exciting that is going on in cities and towns around the country. And go to the next. Okay. I said the demographic insights. Portsmouth boasts a diverse population. City is known for high quality family owned and operated restaurants, often local seafood, ethnic cuisine, burgers, etc. This could also be an opportunity to bring a venue option to another area of the city, along with our innovation district. Now, I want you to understand the food hall concept. This venue offers bars, butcheries, various activities, and it's not to be confused with food courts. It's not like food courts. Food courts are chain restaurants that are put into a space. This actually is something where you introduce your own community, your local flavor to your foods, your restaurants. Next. The benefits. It's supportive of aspiring restaurateurs. It's sought after venue option. It's culinary diversity and it's community engagement. Next slide. The operational model. I said the vendors can lease booths within the food hall, contributing to maintenance and entertainment costs through their rent. This market reduces the financial burden and individual vendors and ensures collaborative efforts in maintaining the venue's ambiance and operation. By embracing this food hall eatery, the concept Portsmouth can create a vibrant hub that offers a unique dining experience and supports local talent and fosters community engagement. Now, when I initially saw this in Toronto, their footprint was 19,000 square foot for the one that I went to, and it was called Queen's Cross Food Hall. Now, the building at Shiny Computer is, I believe, about 13,000 square feet. So they had 16 different stalls. Can't have 16, but maybe we could have 8. We could have 9. And also, when the one in Toronto, they had several, I say maybe 50% of them were permanent structures, meaning permanent eateries. Then they had what you call like a pop-up kind of eateries that would come in periodically and put, whatever their wares were. So I thought it was a really interesting concept. Some models that have found success in small cities and towns are Federal Gallery in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Queen's Cross was the one I went to. The hall in Boston, Faneuil Hall and Union Market in Washington, D.C. Okay, let's go to the next one. My second idea, you can go past that. My second idea was a Maker's Mark. And I said Maker's Mark is the heart of local innovation and handmade culture. Maker's Mark or event is where individuals who create goods by hand, often referred as makers, can directly sell their goods to customers. Maker's Marks are designed to highlight the creativity, talent, and skills of local makers and artisans. You want makers who are storytellers and passionate about their work. The makers should have a substantial part in transforming raw materials into functional pieces of art. Now, I got to see that in motion in Savannah, Georgia. Now, Savannah had a pretty different model than what we would have here, because Savannah, they have a block and they have individual stores, and these stores are all Maker's Mark. And you go in and you see actually the item being made, and then they're doing the retail part of that. So ours would be a little different, but I have models in which they have used Maker's Marks into a building such as Shiny Computer. Next. Why Maker's Mark? Makers is a vibrant, hands-on marketplace where local artisans can showcase their talents, sell their handmade products, and spark community pride while driving small business growth and creative tourism. Maker Marks keep dollars circulating within the community while reducing the reliance on big box retailers that further draws foot traffic to the surrounding businesses and neighborhoods. Now, one of the complaints we've had in our area is that we can't have retail box outlets because we don't, well, I learned after being on this board because of the density of our population. So this gives us an opportunity to support our strength. And our strength is our local communities. And so I think the Maker Smart would be a great idea to kind of look at what you could do with that space. Next, operational model. Artisans and crafters and creators would rent space to showcase and sell their handmade goods. It levels the playing field for small and emerging entrepreneurs by reducing the overhead costs while providing low-cost marketing exposure. Before I get to that slide, when I was doing my research, I saw a Maker's Mark that was in Roanoke. It was a pretty interesting concept because in addition to the professional makers, they connected with the school. And they had a stall, I would guess, or several stalls, where they had kids who would come in and become part of the Maker's Mark. And it started out with a Air Force, I think he was an Air Force major or something. And so he was a bicycle maker. So as a result of that, he started teaching kids how to use tools, how to make bicycles. And then he kind of realized that this was something good that was going on and that they ended up, he would have them bring broken stuff from their house and bring it to this Maker's Mark and learn, and they learned how to fix stuff that was in their house. And it became such a big seller that they ended up keeping this Maker's Mark for the schools. And that's in Roanoke. I want to kind of give you some cities that have had success with that, which is Bristol, the Richmond market. The Richmond market is more of a pop-up. They kind of do it on certain months, weeks of the year, months of the year, but the Bristol model is more of a permanent structure. And I said I was impressed by Boston's markets analysis. And then you can see how many people they had come, how much money they made from it. Now, this is a much larger market than what we have, but just think if we could get a fifth, just a fifth of that market, what we could do with that Maker's Mark. It's really an exciting possibility. And the final slide is on a sustainable marketplace. Now, I added that in late because I went to a section in Norfolk, around 21st Street, 22nd, over that way, which they have taken several blocks and have made it into these little shops, these little outlets of shops. If you haven't done it, it's just a fun thing to do. Now, this one should have been a video, and it's not working. But the video would have showed you Mrs. Pinkadot. Mrs. Pinkadot has a store. It's about the same size as Shannon Computer. And it's just amazing how nice, it just brings you in. It's so nice. It has all of these different interesting items in there, from antiques, from stuff that people didn't use at home. And it's not a flea market. It is an upscale store. And it was just very interesting. And people were just coming and the energy was so good that I thought this would be a great opportunity to use that with the Shiny Computer space. Want to go to the next one? The benefits is it strengthens the local economy. It's affordable access to quality goods. It's environmental sustainable and it's community engagements. Now, with the strength of the economy, consignment shops are typically owned locally, ensuring that profits remain in the community. This local spending circulates through creating jobs and generating tax revenue. Studies indicate that $100 spent at a local business, approximately $68 stays in the community, compared to $43 if it was a chain. Environmental stability. By facilitating the resales of goods, consignment stores reduce the demand for new products, thereby decreasing waste and conserving resources. This practice supports a circular economy where items are reused and repurposed, minimizing environmental impact. Affordable access to quality goods. Consignment shops provide affordable options for consumers, offering high-quality items at reduced prices. This accessibility benefits individuals and families across various income levels, allowing them to purchase necessary goods without financial strain. Then when I went there, I mean, it was just beautiful. I thought, boy, they used the outside of there to do like, um, lawn furniture, that kind of stuff. It was just amazing how much you could find there that you could use at your own house. And you didn't feel like you were buying something used because it was repurposed, really beautiful. And community engagement. Consignment shops strive to be inclusive, welcoming spaces that reflect the diversity of the communities. By offering a variety of products and hosting community events, they foster a sense of belonging and connection among patrons. This I just did a picture of. This is in Norfolk, and they have a Maker's Mark called 757 Maker's Mark. And it drew me to that particular building. I couldn't get in, it was closed that particular day. But what I liked about that is that, when we had the retreat last week, they were talking about keeping it funky, just kind of don't make it the standard stuff you see. So I was really interested in that. But what I do say with doing something like that, you need to make it theme oriented. You don't want hodgepodge of things that make it look like graffiti. You want something where you come up with a theme and the buildings that you do that follow your theme. Thanks. So in closing, I say this is a great opportunity for us to create something great. So I hope you like my ideas. Thank you. Any questions?
I'll say I'm terribly excited about what you just showed us. It's consistent with some of the work that we've been talking about. And like all of us after the retreat, I've been thinking a lot about what we can do to kind of help move the city forward. And it's all about discovery. What do you discover when you come to Portsmouth? You can discover Old Town. You can discover unique retail places. You can discover new food that you may not experience someplace else. And I think that's our secret sauce. When you think about it, what are the drivers that help with economic development? I think it's art, which we've already seen. When we do art, we brought 1,200 people here. It's hospitality, and it's discovery. And the other thing that I think we haven't talked a lot about is music. Music is a fundamental thing in Portsmouth. We haven't exploited that at all. So I think we're at a great spot to leverage some of these buildings or the ideas are spot on. Certainly worthy of discussion.
Good job.
Thank you.
Okay. The excitement, I think, has been building throughout the meeting, and we have another presentation. So related to the Innovation District and let's just discuss. So I'm going to introduce to you our marketing team, and that includes both internal and external. Internal, we have Peter Gugola, who's our Director of Marketing and Communications here with us this morning, as well as from the Davis Agency, which is our agency of record that handles all the city's marketing needs. Zanine Kwas and Richard Wokel are here, and we have a presentation on branding for the Innovation District. We've been talking about this since the plan was first presented, that Innovation District itself is an idea and a plan. It is not the identity. And we've been working internally as a team to come up with a new identity for this community that we're creating, which is a pretty unique opportunity to really re-envision what the Innovation District area can become. And I think we have a good proposal for what that might look like in terms of that identity. So, Z, I'm going to turn it over to you and Richard and Peter to let you present on our idea. So, feel free to come forward.
Wow, thank you, everyone. I'm Zainul Kawas. This is Richard. And we're here from the Davis Ad Agency. This has been so exciting, all the creative conversation from High Street Festival and then what can be done in the Innovation District. Just a quick intro of who we are. Like Brian and Peter said, we have been working with the city of Portsmouth for a few years now, and we feel like we're part of the team, we're part of the community, everything that Portsmouth stands for in terms of moving forward and overcoming any type of adversity is actually really represented in this project for the Innovation District. So we're really excited to have been a part of this, and we thank you for the opportunity. So, I have this, so I'm going to go ahead and proceed. Everybody here is aware of the Innovation District project, and our task was to look at the research that has been done, look at all the proposals, look at the all of the examples, not only here regionally and locally, but across the nation and beyond of what this means and what it can do. And our goal was to create a unique and memorable name and brand that aligns with the city's forward movement. I heard you mention that earlier. The forward progress of the city and establishes this district as a hub for the community and businesses to connect. And it's really important and it's critical for us to think about it as something unique to Portsmouth. Like Brian said, Innovation District is what it is. But how do we make it unique, memorable, so that not only the community is proud of it, but that it resonates across Hampton Roads and beyond as something very special to the area. Naming is not an easy task. Coming up with a name for something is not an easy task, but I let Richard pitch me kind of. So our target audience here was obviously regional and local businesses and the business community, entrepreneurs, citizens and the community at large, real estate developers, small businesses and restaurateurs, community leaders interested in supporting through service centers and the local media. So this project is critical and it covers different audiences. And so one of the reasons the name that we thought about hopefully will resonate is it will be able to be memorable and attractive to all of these different audiences as the project goes along. In terms of our approach, just like the ideas behind the district itself, we want this to be modern and reflect innovation, creative, as it is a space for creators ultimately, welcoming and inclusive and accessible. It is a logical next step for Portsmouth when it comes to development for sure. And we do want to position the district as a place to thrive and bring the community together, especially here in its location. And I'm going to hand this over to Richard to talk to us a little bit about the name itself and how he came up with it.
Thanks. Well, this is exciting for Portsmouth, the Innovation District. As Brian said, an innovation district is an idea. It's not a name. What we wanted to do here was look at what you have planned, what the opportunities are here in Portsmouth, and find a way to create a destination, a place that people want to go, a name that resonates with them, that they understand immediately, and that they will find something there. We looked at this area, and it's designed as a creative innovation and business development district. It's designed to help people connect. If you want to start a business, you're an entrepreneur. It's going to help people connect with resources and access and business support from the city. And it's also going to connect two major economic centers in Portsmouth between downtown and midtown. It's that long stretch right down High Street. I used to live in Port Norfolk, and I would drive down London all the time, and there was no reason to stop. I would just go from downtown to Port Norfolk. And so in thinking of a name, we're thinking about how we're a place that connects people, that connects our city together. And we landed on an idea that kind of connects Portsmouth not only to its present and its future, but to its past. Our proposal is to call this innovation district the Link. And it can be used as an acronym that can stand for Launch, Innovate, Network, Create. Now you might say, well, that's spelled a little funny. That's not how you spell Link. The INC here is used to suggest a business incorporation. It's incorporated. And it's a place that connects us to each other and to our city and our future. The link is where connections become catalysts and the gaps between access and opportunity are bridged to link people, ideas, and industry and launch a new era of inclusive innovation in Portsmouth. There are so many creators in Portsmouth. Like you said, sir, the musicians. Portsmouth's history of musicians and artists is just incredible, really, when you think about it. And to create a place where people can find support and thrive, to us, it's a wonderful opportunity. In addition to the idea of an incorporation here and a connection, there's a way to connect this with the city's past. And researching this and the area, I looked at the whole area, I drove it, I spent 4 or 5 hours up there. A long time ago, right after the Civil War, when blacks were first freed, the first community for freed blacks in Portsmouth was called Lincolnsville. It was about 30 acres right outside the Innovation District, next to the Portsmouth Naval Center. And it had its own banks, it had its own hospital, for medical care, so schools. And it stayed that way until about 1890, when it was finally incorporated into the city. Some of the names you might recognize live there. Jeffrey Wilson, Ida Barber, and I.C. Norcom himself, whose high school sits in the middle of the Innovation District. When I lived in Portsmouth, I knew Jeffrey Wilson as a housing project. And I knew Ida Barber as a housing project. Ida Barber was an educator. She was an amazing woman. She started the first orphanages for little kids for working mothers. Right? Jeffrey Wilson was a writer. He was a columnist. He worked at the Naval Shipyard. He was born into slavery, and his family was free. And he became a history maker in Portsmouth. And I.C. Norcom, he wasn't in high school. He was an educator who taught little kids at a very difficult time. So we see this as a great opportunity to kind of link Portsmouth to its past and its future, kind of pay tribute to Lincolnville. And it was interesting as we kind of talked to people around this name. A lot of people hadn't heard it before. And I lived in Portsmouth for a long time, and I'd never heard Lincolnsville. And this is a nice way, I think, to kind of modernize it and bring it back, kind of, encapsulate it into this district. And maybe even have some opportunities for markers. How to remember these people. Anyway, that is our concept here. We think it's a good way to kind of be a memorable name people can relate to and understand. So that's the thought here.
Updated comments.
If I can answer anything.
Yeah, so we wanted to bring this before you for, feedback and input. Staff, along with Davis Agency, we've been working on this for months. Been through a number of different names that just didn't resonate for whatever reason, but this really seemed to just hit. And the links, the connections to Portsmouth, our history of what we're trying to accomplish in this district just seemed to be a strong fit, which is why we wanted to bring it to you all to get your input and feedback. This is a unique opportunity for Portsmouth to name a community. I'm not aware of what's really having been done. Typically, new community in locality is named by a developer, right? And it's usually something they put into a word churn and it spits out, pretty generic name. But this is an opportunity for Portsmouth to determine what this community is going to be called, how we're going to market it. I mean, this is really kind of a exciting opportunity for us to part of it. So this is what we really felt like was the ideal fit for the innovation district. So we'd like to get your comments and input feedback so that we can begin looking at next steps. The longer we wait, and longer we go without having a name, identity, the innovation district is going to kind of stick. But that's not an identity. It's a concept. It's an idea. So with that, I'd like to kind of hear from you and your reaction to what Z and Richard have presented. Get your thoughts.
Well, I'll start first. I like it. I was really excited about it. I do think that combining your history with your present is just a really neat thing to do. And that link, just the word link without the C, it brings continuity. And I think that with our communities, one of the things we talked about in our retreat was about the perceptions, of course. And I think it's important to get your citizens excited about where they live, where they shop, where they play. And I think that the background of this particular name, I think will bring a amount of excitement to the communities. So I like it.
Yeah, I like it as well. I'm a visual person, so I would have liked to see the story and then the link come down.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's lots of stories here, but we're at a great time in this country where history has been lost. And so an opportunity to reconnect the history in Portsmouth, I think is great. You know, as I look at it and I think about the things we're trying to do, I'm trying to say, well, do they fall under launch or innovate or network or create? So whatever we do, we're trying to align to that vision. I think it's really cool. The font, I'm struggling with a little bit.
Conceptual. This will not be. Okay. And we had a conversation about that, unveiling it before we have that.
Okay.
But this is, the concept of the name itself. But Davis will be working to get really creative if this is the direction we're going to come up with a new logo, because it ties into the rebrand of the city, the gateways to the district, wayfinding, placemaking, all of that will need to be branded around, what this name will be.
Yeah, and it's more the identity of the space versus the second logo. I mean, our logo is right. This is a second identity that we'll have.
Right.
If my reaction is that I don't see the need for the.
Yeah, well, right.
Yeah, we debated some of that too. Is it the link? Is it the link district? Is it link? And we feel that ultimately people will embrace the space and will start calling it either the link or link, and then it will just take a life of its own. But our charge is to brand it positively, to make sure that it reflects the actual innovation and creativity that's not only behind the spaces themselves, but the people who make the spaces. And, we're talking about connecting the past to the present, but also bridging the present into the future.
Right.
And this isn't going to be unveiled as a complete project yet, right? So the pieces are going to continue to fall in place for years to come. So this is just a way to help build more and more excitement and keep people abreast of those, updates as they go along. So we have some really cool ideas to keep everybody connected to the project as we go.
Yeah.
If you look at some of the other areas around the region, the Vibe District in Virginia Beach, that's an innovation district. It's mostly artists and girls, but they called it the Vibe, one word. Over in Norfolk, that upper end of Granby Street, they called it the Neon
District.
And they have an acronym for that. And it's that single word, that sort of makes it memorable. And in this case, I mean, I feel like this could really resonate in Portsmouth, and people could own it and be proud of it.
Yeah.
And it's such an opportunity for storytelling about resilience and Portsmouth's history and its future. We think it's a strong identity.
So I've been really trying to hold my composure because I have been excited, awaiting some news of where we're going with the name. been kind of sitting here waiting for the presentation. I heard you say that at our retreat that it's going to be coming up. Super excited, kind of anxious. Why? Because it is very hard naming things in Portsmouth of so much historical context. Everywhere you know in Portsmouth, there is always a name attached to it. The resignation with you bringing up Lincolnsville, did not see that coming. That is a very historical context in the African American community. And many of the natives know, but many of them are deceased now. So that name has not resonated with the community in a while. When I think of Link, especially how it's spelled, incorporating the business community and all of that. In historical context, High Street, the whole High Street corridor, everything you needed in the city of Portsmouth, you could find on High Street. High Street was the same as it was Norfolk's Granby Street or Church Street. Everything you needed, every service, every educational aspect, you needed your shoes shined, you needed your car detailed, you needed your automotive, whatever you needed was on High Street. High Street, this is the link. It links everything together. And if you look at it over the years, the whole area has not had an identity because it's been so many things. The current area from, I would say, Godwin to Effingham, that was Automotive Row, Cadillac, Lincoln, Chrysler. The names go endless. And as, you know, the more and more their automotive retailers left the city areas, they didn't leave Portsmouth right away. They went to Airline Boulevard. That became the new Automotive Row before they moved to Chesapeake Square. So there's identity there, but the land has sat vacant for years with no identity. I love it. I see even mass transit taking this on with a unique train or trolley to get our people from Old Town to the Innovation District to the casino, the link. I see that becoming more like the Pulse that's in Richmond or some other transit systems that could be unique to Portsmouth. We could really brand this and take it to a whole new level. And we are the innovators. Portsmouth is known for artistry and creativity. It's a foodie haven. Small population, but mighty in terms of who is here and what resources we have. Everything that you need is here, but it's getting the word out. I think this is a great step.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner. I think this is a great idea. I like the name. I know when I was a lot younger, when I was campaigning for the General Assembly in Portsmouth, the stories that you heard, like for example, you mentioned music. During the early parts, most of the African American musicians, guess where they stayed? In Portsmouth. People would tell me they actually had James Brown stayed at their homes. And so we have to reteach that, but we can use that as a link for people to know the past. When I walked through the neighborhood and they told me it was Lincolnville, I had never heard that before. And they told me where people were, and it was just the thing I like about it. And I think the Commissioner Harmon said it. That hopefully this will inspire people to research and tell these stories, because you're right. This was I was born in Norfolk, but when we came over to Portsmouth, this was our church street. So I think it's a good start. I think it'll give it an identity, and I think it's something that the city of Portsmouth will, once we create it, will grow and inspire other places to do similar things.
I think our challenge is to build the things that support this initiative physically. You know,
Yeah.
I always like when I come down High Street and I see young people walking around. But I see a day where they go to our coffee shop. They go down the street to a place where they can do a podcast. They have a green space where they can sit in the park and talk to each other. That's the kind, we just have to make sure we have to build it right. We got a great name. We got to build it right so that it reflects that.
That's our challenge.
What is the process now of taking or getting consensus on the name and then taking it into the logos and the whole, marketing effort?
Yeah, we're going to start working on the imagery. Brian and I, again, we wanted to show you the concept. Brian and I will sit and talk and, you know, what do we need to do to make this come true now? Do we do a presentation to city council? You know, what do we need to do?
I think
I mean, we did want to reveal it at the State of the City, but that might be pushing it. That's this nice 3D hologram instead.
That'd be awesome. Name for the mural festival, that'd be great.
Yeah, the mural festival was another inspirational moment, for the whole thing. Like, you're only seeing the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the creative thought that went behind it and the research and really immersing ourselves into not only the innovation district, but everything else that is going on in Portsmouth over the past couple of years. And it's really inspiring. Even the presentations we just saw today kind of reinforce in our mind that we're headed in that direction.
So how beautifully would a maker's mark or a food court, food halls fall into a place called the Lake. Just local events. You know, a young kid is a musician, you know, where does he have to go to find a studio? He can't afford a studio. But it's like the link. Like connect him to that.
Yeah.
You know, he might be the next.
Yeah.
Your open stage sits there.
Yeah.
Meet you at the link. I like your idea also of discovery, because that's what, I know we're also talking about the local community and how important it is, but even for tourism, having a place like the eatery would be a huge draw, because it just allows for discovery of what that local culture is. We recently went to one. We were traveling a family of 9. So as I'm sure you know, everybody wanted something different, and the solution was to go to one, and everybody was happy.
So again, I mean, we're going to keep EDA up to date on everything through Brian. If we need to come back, we will definitely be back to look through imagery, et cetera.
So the question about, timing and what's the next step, this ties in well to the timing for the zoning ordinance rewrite that Dr. Russell with the planning department briefed you all on at the retreat on Friday. So the ordinance is going to be rewritten. I believe she gave a late summer timeframe for adoption of that. We will also need to adopt the amended district boundaries because it's expanding. And I think, from a timing standpoint, to formalize the name and have city council tie that into the other changes, I think is right on schedule. This is all that.
Just one more point. I know we're about to leave this, but I'm always excited because he's young, he's in touch with kids. If we can figure out a way to leverage this with the kids in Portsmouth, it'd be great.
Yeah, because we did a study last year, 1,600 residents, another 600 people outside of the Portsmouth, just a survey of, what do you think makes Portsmouth unique? And we had a lot of interest from the millennials that want to come to this city. So again, this could be a great draw. We got to look at the music, that everyone listens to at the younger ages. So that may not be what we want to hear, but it's what is going to draw that millennial audience to Portsmouth.
Well, we do have a street named after Missy Elliott.
That we do. We have some stars over the pavilion too, that started a walk of fame over there.
Yeah.
So, that's not, I don't think a lot of people know those stars are sitting over there, doing contribute this. Other topics, sorry to get off task.
So we will keep the EDA informed as we move forward, but I like the response that I'm getting. I feel like you are in agreement that this is a good name, a good identity for the Innovation District. So we're going to keep marching forward as planned, and we'll come back with updates and let you know how this develops. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time.
Good job.
Thank you. Okay, it was mentioned during the conversation, the state of the city. So I just really wanted to touch on that very quickly. That's coming up. That's Friday, May 2nd. at Rivers Casino, Portsmouth, same location as last year. But I can share with you that the mayor's remarks will not be the same. They're going to be quite different and exciting because there's a lot going on. That begins at noon. I think it runs until 2 p.m. We would recommend arriving if you're planning to attend sometime between 11 and noon to register. We do have a table for the EDA. So if you could please just RSVP to Faith, we will be sending out a formal email with details, but I just want to make sure that you knew about it. It's coming up. And we would love to have you there to hear from the mayor and council and really to celebrate. I mean, this is kind of a fun time to highlight all the exciting things happening in the city. And the mayor has promised that ours is the best state of the city in the region. So I would expect nothing of that from him. Second. We will be following. Questions on it? We do have a need for a closed meeting. And we have a resolution and with the vice chair.
I move we to go into closed meeting. Code section 2.23711A that docs 3 for the purpose of discussion, acquisition, disposition of real property, where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. Specifically regarding strategic acquisition and disposition within the innovation district and the dispositions of 219 Pavilion, 8 Crawford Parkway, 2 Crawford Parkway, 2 Harbor Court, and 3 Harbor Court, and pursuant to section Virginia Code section 2.237. Where if made public initially, the initial interest in the government unit would be adversely affected, specifically regarding the small business finance program RSP, so in the shop the block.
Second, that can go.
Second by Mr. Brown. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Barber? Aye. Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith? Mrs. Saunders Smith?
Yo, sorry, yeah.
Mrs. Cherry?
Yeah.
He's at the food.
Mr. James?
Yes.
Mr. Hartman?
Yes.
Chair of the.
I hereby move that each commissioner certify that to the best of their ability, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of the Freedom of Information Act, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened or heard, discussed, or considered during the closed meeting just concluded.
Second.
Motion of second. Discussion, hearing none. Mr. Barber? Aye. Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry?
Yes.
Mr. James?
Yes.
And Mr. Hartman?
Yes.
By vote of 7-0, Chair, we are back in open meeting.
I move that there are 3 items be added to the open meeting item on our agenda, that being 934 High Street, 219 Pavilion Drive, and Shop the Block High Street Festival.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there any discussion on the item? Hearing none. Read the roll. Mr. Barber?
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith?
Yeah.
Mrs. Cherry?
Yes.
Mr. James?
Yes.
And Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Chair, the item is adopted by a vote of 7-0. The items are added to the agenda.
I've asked that Kelly, read the resolution for 934 High Street and for 219 Pavilion.
So I believe,
believe you're looking for a motion to approve the following resolution, acquisition of 934 High Street, whereas a purchase agreement, the agreement has been prepared for the acquisition of 934 High Street, tax parcel 0024161 and whereas the purchase price under the agreement is $400,000, and whereas the acquisition of the property will further the development of the High Street Innovation Corridor and is in the best interest of the EPA and the city. Now therefore, it is hereby resolved that the board hereby reviews and ratifies the agreement. The chair and vice chair are each authorized to execute the agreement. The chair, vice chair, and secretary and their designees are each authorized to take such further actions as are necessary or desirable in their sole discretion to implement the terms of the agreement. And this resolution will be effective immediately upon its adoption.
Okay, this is a motion second.
One,
Motion.
somebody has to move.
Motion. I moved.
And second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Barber,
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith,
Yeah.
Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
Mr. James.
Yes.
And Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Item is approved by a vote of 7-0.
And the next resolution is for 2.9 billion, extension of the feasibility period. Whereas EDA entered into a purchase and sale agreement dated January 20th, 2022 with Gerardo International Incorporated, the developer for advance of 219 Pavilion Drive as amended the agreement. And whereas developer has diligently pursued site design and permitting, but has had to address issues related to the configuration of the property and railroad encumbrances. And whereas developer has requested to extend the feasibility period expiration date through May 15th, 2025. And whereas it is in the interest of both parties to allow the developer additional time to complete the permitting process for the development. Now therefore it is hereby resolved that the amendment of the agreement to extend the feasibility period through May 15th, 2025 is hereby approved. The chair and vice chair are each authorized to execute an amendment to the agreement in accordance with the intent of this resolution. This resolution shall be effective immediately upon its adoption.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the item? Hearing none. We roll Mr. Barber,
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith,
Yeah.
Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
Mr. James.
Yes.
Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Chair, the item is approved by a vote of 7-0.
I move that, the EDA allocate $35,000 to shop the block on High Street Festival.
Second.
Motion and second, or is there any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Barber,
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith,
Yeah.
Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
Mr. James.
Yes.
And Mr. Harmon.
Yes.
Chair, the item is approved by a vote of 7-0. That brings us to items submitted by board members.
I have one. I am requesting that at our monthly meetings, and since we have a timeline for the Crawford Bay waterfront development, that we update board members on what tasks are on schedule, delayed, or modified. Thanks. I don't know if that has to be in a closed session.
Okay, we can provide that going forward on the agenda as a regular, the recurring item, whether that's an open or closed portion of the meeting. Very good. Are there any other items submitted by board members? Hearing none, we're going to move on to report backs. I do have, not really a report back, but just a item to note. This week begins the Portsmouth Invitational Tournament. I believe it's the 71st tournament here in Portsmouth. That will be occurring Wednesday through Saturday of this week. I do have tickets. If anybody is interested, I
love going to the games.
I think I've already distributed a few of those, but if you're interested, I have 2 sets of tickets for each day. Just see me after the meeting. I'd be happy to distribute those. That's finally good.
That concludes our meeting. Thanks, everybody, for your attendance and participation.